the age of 8, I was determined to be true to myself. Of course, that made it essential to know what myself consisted of. My manifesto began the day I discovered I had once possessed an extra finger in each hand, twins to my pinkies. My grandmother had recommended that the surplus be amputated before leaving the hospital, lest people think there was a familial tendency toward giving birth to octopuses. Mother and father were freethinkers, whose opinions were based on reason, logic, deduction, and their own opinions. Mother, who disagreed with any advice my grandmother had to give, said,
"Should the extra fingers be removed, simply to enable her to wear gloves from a dry goods store?"
They took me home with all my fingers in place. But then an old family friend of my father's, Mr. Maubert, who was also my piano teacher, convinced them to turn my unusual hands into ordinary ones. He was a former concert pianist who, early in his promising career, lost his right arm during the siege of Paris by the Prussians.
"There are only a few piano compositions for one hand,
He said to my parents.
none for 6 fingers. If you intend for her to have musical training, it would be a pity if she had to take up the tambourine due to lack of suitable instruments."
Mr. Maubert was the one who proudly informed me when I was 8 that he had influenced the decision. Few can understand the shock of a little girl learning that part of her was considered undesirable and thus needed to be completely removed. It made me fearful that people could change parts of me without my knowledge and permission, and thus began my quest to know which of my many attributes I needed to protect, the whole of which I named scientifically my pure self-being. In the beginning, the complete list comprised my preferences and dislikes, my strong feelings for animals, my animosity toward anyone who laughed at me, my aversion to stickiness, and several more things I have now forgotten. I also collected secrets about myself, mostly what had wounded my heart, and the very fact that they needed to be kept private was proof of my pure self-being. I later added to my list my intelligence, opinions of others, fears and revulsions, and certain nagging discomforts, which I later knew as worries.